This is a video to help you with the bed on your truck, where to position it and where it goes. If you bought your truck with the bed off and in pieces, not knowing where anything went, hopefully this video will help you out and make it a little simpler. I know I could have figured out a jigsaw puzzle easier than I could have figured out how to put this bed on this truck. I've been working on it for 3 years, and now it's time for the bed. It's completely rebuilt. So let's get started. Okay, starting with the cross sills. There's 2 different cross sills. I'm really not sure which one it takes, but I'm using these simply because the holes are already in it. They align to the frame, and the blocks are already on it. If you use these, you have to make blocks and raise them up so that they're level with your back cross sill. Now this is for a step side short bed. So that's the cross sills, and we'll get to the positioning. Okay, positioning of the cross sills. On the back of the frame there's 2 holes. I'm going to use the front one, not sure what the back one is, but that's where my back cross sill bolts. The second one is going to be in front of the hole, which I already have them marked. Okay, and here's a third one, and there'll be a hole in front of that one, and then you got your front sill here. So that would be the positioning. Now I milled my own wood, and it comes without holes, and you have to figure out where to drill the holes in the wood, and we'll get to that next. Okay, first, before we get started, I'd like to just stress that this video is for informational purposes only, and just to throw out some tips and maybe help you on yours. I've got the sills in place, and I just stuck some bolts through them through the frame to hold them in place. But I milled my own wood, so there is no holes in it, and that's like the $1,000,000 question, is where do the holes go? So I've clamped the back sill in place, and I do have a bolt through it in position. Now I measured off the back of the sill where the wood would lay to the front bolt hole, and that's going to give me my distance forward where to drill the hole. I didn't understand what that rooster said. So from this hole, then you can measure up to that hole and get your second distance up to the third and your fourth sill. But then you got your side-to-side measurement on your board for the hole, and we got to put the boards in place, and we'll get that measurement coming. Okay, I don't know if I got a little ahead of myself, but I started fitting my boards on the truck with the strips, and got some bolts in place. But I just wanted to show you, to get the measurement to drill the hole on this board, I just took a square and I went to the back of the sill, right to the center of the bolt, and I made me a little line on the sill, and that's going to be my center line of the bolt because it lines up with the square. So now I have my line. When I put my board in place, I know exactly where the center of that bolt will line up down the board. Then, to get the distance forward, you just take a tape measure and go off the back of the sill to the center of the bolt, and maybe take off a 1/16 of an inch, and that should give you a measurement for your first hole. And then from there, I'll continue in a minute. Okay, I'm gonna do a recap on everything I've done so far. I forgot something that's pretty important, but it doesn't matter because all the wood's got to come back off anyway for final assembly. But before you put your wood on, I'm just going to throw a blanket over the front bed piece, and you want to put that on the truck and lean it against the cab blanket so that it don't scratch before I start putting on my wood on. And that's pretty important because it probably won't fit in there trying to do it later. So from there, I'd picked out my bed sills, put them in place, and I put some bolts in the holes just to keep them from moving around too much, keep them in position. I put rubber pads underneath them. I made my own rubber pads. I had some in my toolbox, so I used that. The factory ones are kind of thick anyway, and I wanted to drop the bed down a little bit. From there, we come to the rear seal. I put it in position. I had some bolts in here just to kind of hold it. I use vice grips to clamp it in place and to hold it because I don't want this to move. This has got to be solid. Then I took a T-square, got me a line to center up my bolt hole, so that when I put the wood down, I have this line. I know exactly where that bolt's going to be. I also took a string. It fell off the thing up there, but I put the loop through the bolt and came back here, and it lines up. These bolts are all in line with each other, so that's good. From there, I took the measurement from the back of the sill to the hole, which was like 4 1/4 or something, I don't remember, and putting the wood up here, back here, you want to put your strip on so that you get the distance right, and then again you can take your square off the sill and you can make a mark. So that's your distance forward. Now on the sides, I just eyeballed and put a mark to the center of the sill, so I know with the square, just, I can make a line over here, a light line. If your wood is straight, you can take a measurement off of your mark back here, the distance, and just go up from sill to sill all the way forward. You do want to check your wood, make sure it's straight and not warped to get a more accurate measurement. So from here, I got some work to do, and I'll be back later. Okay, I'm back. This is where I've gotten. All the wood's down, the bed strips are down, nuts and bolts are fastened. They're not tight yet. Putting the washers on underneath can be a little tricky, trying to hold them while putting the nut on, so I just used grease and I stuck the washer up there to hold it in place while I put the nut on, and that takes some aggravation out of it. The front bed panel, I used clamps on each side to hold it in place while I put the washers and nuts underneath, so that's a one-person job. On the bed strips, I didn't know this because it was all in pieces, but the hole closest to the back, the hole goes toward the back of the bed, and that's the same thing on the side, on the side angles. There's a hole right to the back of it, and that goes to the back of the bed. Just simple information if you don't know. I drilled all the holes a little oversized so that it make it easier for the bolts to go in, and for the because you need to move things around. Things need to be moved around for alignment and stuff. So I just drilled everything a little bit bigger, and it made things easier to align, and because this was an extreme job. Now, the dimensions I came up with on drilling the holes in the wood here would be, and I have to say, to measure until you know it's correct. That's if you're drilling your own holes in your wood. Measure until you know it's right. But the measurements that I came up with on this truck were 4 3/4 from the back and 2 3/4 from the side on the first hole. Second hole was 23 1/2 forward. I didn't measure that one, and this fourth one was 74 1/2. And again, don't go by these measurements. These are just for reference, but this is what I came up with on this truck. And so that about does it. I think the rest is pretty much easy to figure out. And there's one tool you don't want to start this job without, and I highly recommend it because you will need it. And good luck.